When Rachel exits the train at her usual stop, the night around her feels too quiet, too hollow, with long stretches of empty streetlights flickering above the pavement as if they are warning her with every weakened glow, and the man in the coat steps out behind her at the exact same moment, making her skin crawl with the certainty that she is being hunted, though she forces herself to walk with controlled steps, refusing to reveal the panic swirling inside her chest, and she recalls every safety tip she has ever heard, yet none of them prepare her for the strange rhythm of his footsteps, slow, patient, determined, like someone who knows the darkness better than she does, and as she turns into the long corridor leading to the street, she catches his reflection in the dusty metro window, and the look in his eyes freezes her breath for a moment, because it is not wildness or anger, but something colder, something observant, something that studies her movements with unsettling calm, as if he has been doing this for a very long time, and every instinct in her warns her that tonight she cannot afford to run, but she also cannot afford to hesitate. Rachel steps into the open air, and the city greets her with distant traffic and the faint hum of neon signs, but nothing loud enough to drown out the careful footsteps that follow a few meters behind her, and she feels the weight of the blueprint tube in her hand, remembering it contains her first solo project, something she dreamed of for years, and somehow that memory gives her just enough strength to keep moving as her mind races through every decision she has made tonight, every corner, every glance, every moment she might have been chosen by this stranger, and she slows her breathing, forcing herself to stay aware, to study the environment, the shadows, the possible exits, the few shops still open, the apartments above, and she senses that the man is waiting for something, some moment when she lets her guard slip, and she refuses to give him that moment, instead guiding her steps toward a path she knows well, a narrow alley that leads back toward the main street but has several branching turns. And she feels a rising fire inside her, not of panic but of resolve, and unexpected courage that tells her she will not simply be prey tonight, because something in her has awakened a fierce instinct to protect herself. As Rachel reaches the alley, the air shifts with the heavy silence of isolation, the kind that wraps around the mind and plays tricks with time and distance, and she grips the tube tighter, letting its familiar weight anchor her as she moves deeper into the narrow passage where shadows stretch like long fingers across the bricks, and behind her the footsteps slow, almost intentionally, as if the man is savoring her fear, and she feels a tremor in her spine, yet something inside her refuses to collapse. Under the pressure, she listens to the faint echoes around her, calculating each sound, each distance, each breath, until she senses the exact moment the man steps fully into the alley, blocking the exit behind her, and though she cannot see his face clearly in the dim light, she can feel his presence, thick and deliberate, as if he is claiming the space, and she exhales, slowly grounding herself in the stillness, and letting an unexpected clarity wash over her, a clarity that whispers that fear is not her enemy but her weapon, and she begins to move with quiet purpose, stepping toward a corner where a broken security light flickers just enough to cast uneven shadows she can use to her advantage. The man begins to advance, and the air tightens with each step he takes as Rachel steps sideways into the shifting shadows where her outline blurs against the brick wall, and she waits in silence, her heartbeat loud but steady as she lets her breathing fall into the rhythm of the night around her, and the man pauses, confused at the sudden loss of her silhouette, as if the shadows themselves have swallowed her, and he scans the alley, searching for the movement he expects but cannot find, and Rachel senses a turning point, a moment where control slips from him and settles into her hands, and she grips the tube, ready not as a weapon of harm but as a tool to create distance, to create escape, to create a chance to get away. And when he takes another step forward, she moves swiftly, stepping out from the shadow with a burst of confidence that startles him enough to throw off his balance, and she uses that moment to run, not blindly but with purpose, heading straight toward the second exit she knew existed, a narrow opening behind an old chain-link fence where the mesh is loose enough to push through, and she feels the shock and adrenaline mix into a fierce determination to survive. Rachel bursts out into the main street where the lights are brighter and the presence of passing cars gives her a small sense of hope, yet she does not stop, not even when she hears the man struggling to force his way through the fence behind her, and she turns sharply toward a convenience store that stays open late, knowing it is a place with cameras, people, witnesses, and she enters with urgency but not panic, her voice steady as she asks the clerk to call for help while her eyes stay fixed on the door waiting for the shadow of the man to appear, yet he does not, and minutes pass as officers arrive, gathering details, listening as she explains every moment, every step, though her voice trembles with the weight of the fear she has been carrying, and the officers reassure her that she did the right thing, that staying aware saved her, but something lingers uneasily in her thoughts, the feeling that the man was not acting with randomness but intention, and the question of why he chose her keeps echoing inside her mind with a quiet, relentless chill. When detectives review the footage from the metro, the alley, and the surrounding streets, an unexpected twist emerges that sends a cold shock through everyone watching, because the man was not simply following Rachel, he had been following several people over the past week, shifting his focus whenever someone turned toward a crowded area, meaning Rachel was the first person who refused to lead him into isolation and instead forced him into confusion by controlling the shadows and pace. And when detectives zoom in on his face, they realize he is someone reported missing a month earlier, someone whose family believed he vanished during a severe mental health crisis, leaving him vulnerable, confused, and lost. And Rachel feels a surge of complex emotion: fear, relief, sadness, empathy blending together as she realizes she was never chosen as a target, but encountered a person whose mind had fractured in the darkness of the city. And though the investigation continues, the final twist remains that her courage, her awareness, and her unexpected calm in the shadows prevented a tragedy no one fully understood until now.